No. It makes sense. You're a teacher. You say, open up your books to chapter 2. And you start reading from the book. And then, really?
Yeah, we don't have textbooks.
What?
Textbooks don't exist anymore, man. What year do you think this is? Every student gets issued a Chromebook.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Kids have had Chromebooks for years.
Bro. I thought it was all textbooks still. Whatever. I think bring the textbooks back. They need
man.
70 pounds on their back.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're like, we're breaking their, giving them scoliosis. Fucking scoliosis.
How do you think I built these tree trunks, bro?
Giving them like permanent spine damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. No way. I remember that year. I remember like taking your algebra book home.
Before we get to the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share it to that uncle who's a communist. And if he isn't, he will be.
Don't forget to follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionaryrhetoric. And Revolutionary Rhetoric is an affiliate of the Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network.
All right, let's get to the video. Episode 45.
Well, God damn it. We recorded 8 minutes of audio before we realized the video is not recorded. We can still put that in at the beginning just over like a cartoon version of ourselves.
Who's going to draw the cartoon version?
I mean...
All right. No. This is only on the audio. You'll get the first 8 minutes. So if you want to hear the first 8 minutes that we rambled on forever...
Mm-hmm. Are you really just gonna start it here?
Yeah. Okay. Episode 45. As I don't know if you don't know what the fuck is going on, we don't either.
Then that beginning, us talking about staring at each other, won't make any sense.
Yeah. No, it won't. No. So okay, guys. Okay, like to bring you up to date, we've been doing this whole podcast for a good 9 minutes.
8 minutes,
now.
yeah, something
8,
like
9
that,
minutes. And now we just pressed record.
So. We recorded the audio only, so if you're listening to this on the audio version, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You get the full thing. If you're listening to this or watching this on the video version, follow us on YouTube. You're only getting the abridged version. Yeah. Anyway, she told Jennifer, she was People Magazine, Kit Kennedy. I said last week it's Kathleen Kennedy's, God damn it, it's Robert F. Kennedy's Jr.'s son. It's actually his daughter. I didn't know that Kik was I guess like a pet name or a shortened name or a nickname for Kathleen, because it was also somebody like back in the day who's long dead.
I still don't understand the whole Richard and Dick.
I don't know, man.
Like, well, how the fuck?
I mean, it's like but it's in every culture. Like Ignacio Nacho is like a short name.
Ignacio Nacho Richard Dick.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Maybe Richard Rick, and then Rick became Dick. But like, who the hell was like Dick? That's my nickname.
Well, I'm sure it came out before they called a penis was a dick. Like, I think the nickname was before slang. You know what I mean? Like, one followed the other.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know when dick was used as slang for a penis. I don't know when that started. Actually, now that I think about it, that probably was like a Middle Ages thing. I would be surprised if that wasn't around Shakespeare or earlier than Shakespeare.
Really?
Let me look it up.
So, okay, well then at that point is like if you have like a King Richard, is like, yeah.
He's a King Dick?
Yeah.
King Richard was called, they called him Dick. That's in the 16th century, so mid 1500s, in the general sense, fellow, pet form of the given name Richard.
Raise and stand, fuck Dick.
But that's just for the name. Now, here's for the slang term for penis. Dick is a common English slang word for the human penis. Is also used for yada, 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 yada. Origin and evolution of the sort of slang. In the mid-17th century, Dick became slang for the man. So Richard, the name, came first by about 100 years.
Interesting.
Yeah, mid-17th century to mid-16th century. So exactly 100 years. Yeah, so King Dick had no sexual or vulgar connotation to it. That was just King Richard doing his thing. Richard the Lionheart, Dick the Lionheart.
Well, obviously he was such a fucking trash human that this guy's like the epitome of a person that's a piece of crap is a dick.
When was William Wallace in the Scottish Revolution? That was like 1100?
Oh yeah, that was a lot.
Because that was Richard,
11,
wasn't it?
1200, right, bro.
That English king was also King Richard, I think, but that was like 1100s.
Yeah, I think that's like.
Let's see. I'm gonna pull it up.
Maybe even like 1300s, maybe.
Because he died in 1305, so it was like 1200s.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, because 1100s and 1200s was like Normandy.
Yeah, that was like
William the Conqueror,
Umberland and all that stuff. It wasn't quite as established as the England
Scotland
kingdom.
Scotland.
Let's see, what was his name? That was King Richard the Lionheart, right?
Braveheart.
Most of what I know about that actual history came from Braveheart, which is a terribly inaccurate movie.
Oh yeah.
No, Richard the Lionheart was from the 1100s, so I was right about him being 1100s, but wrong about Wallace being from that time.
Fair enough.
I don't know why we're talking about that.
I know.
Anyway, I was my one attraction. Last week I called Kick a boy. I apologize. Kick Kennedy is a woman, 32 or 36, who's kind of maybe hanging around Ben Affleck.
Whoa. I think they missed that part too, so they don't know what the fuck. You know what? It makes it more exciting. You know.
Who? What?
Ben Affleck. We mentioned Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Before the video recording.
King Edward Longshanks. That was his name.
Longshanks.
I don't know why I'm on this. Hold on. I'm in the rabbit hole here. That was King Edward the First. Yeah. I don't know anything about English. I don't know shit about shit when it comes to English history. Like I cannot care. I cannot find the energy to care about the royals.
Dude, imagine
Edward Longshanks was the name.
Imagine if his name was Richard Longshanks.
Richard Longshanks.
He'd be
Dick Longshanks. That's a poor name if I ever heard one. Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? What the fuck?
I don't know, man.
Oh, you also didn't hear us talk about the one news, the Putin thing.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I guess we got to bring it back. Apparently, Putin endorsed Kamala.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Go listen to the audio version if you want to hear the full story of our conspiracy theories there, because I don't want to repeat the whole thing. Because if we'll
give him a little short. Kamala was endorsed by Putin. Now, whether this was a strategy on Putin's part to get Trump elected, or what it was just to, have Trump elected because the Republicans in general, the conservatives, don't want to keep giving money to Ukraine, and he will win the war easier. We can't decide whether it's because he likes Trump or it's just more convenient for his warmongering. But either way, what did he say is because Kamala Harris's laugh
was so infectious.
I
think that's
no.
Guess that was the quote. I can pull up the actual.
That's
quote.
why he endorses Kamala.
Yeah. I think he said more. Let me pull up the full quote because I think there was more to it. Let's see. Oh, and I guess Donald Trump had something to say about it too. This should be fun. I don't know if I'm insulted or he did me a favor. Trump said of Putin while outlining. Oh no, I guess I was mistaken. Last 4 years ago, Putin said he preferred Democratic nominee Joe Biden over Trump. And then he said, quote, "We will support her. She laughs so expressively and infectiously that it means that everything is fine with her." Yeah.
My dude is endorsing based off of vibes. Even
this whole election is just
vibing,
vibes, dude. And then
Putin,
Trump
dude.
replied back saying, "I don't know if I'm insulted or if he did me a favor." So I don't know.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I've also felt a little vindicated. I've seen a lot more of the more liberal and mainstream kind of news pundits talking about my theory that they're gonna drop, which isn't super revelatory, that they're gonna drop Vance for RFK. There's David Pakman is starting to run that. I think other lib kind of news shows are starting to actually float that as a story that the Trump Vance ticket, they're going to drop JD Vance and then instate RFK onto the ticket.
That would be smart of him. Honestly,
I think that'd be the smartest move. Yeah, JD Vance literally brings nothing. In fact, he loses them votes.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone hates Vance.
Throw him somewhere in a fucking cabinet that has
or not. Just fucking send him back to Ohio or wherever he came from. Nobody wants him.
I know, but you also don't want to create enemies in a time like this.
Yeah, but I think he's so weak. And also Trump has never cared about that because Trump feels into. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into the inner workings of Trump's mind. Yeah. I don't think JD Vance is a man to be scared.
The mind of Trump. Oh my god, that needs to be its own fucking TV show.
Yeah. Or a web series.
Yeah, that'd be fucking hilarious.
What was it? Man, woman, camera, TV.
Yeah,
that's the mind of Trump.
It reminds me
the best mind, the greatest mind of all time. The Giamot or whatever he said. The greatest mind of all time. Gamote. He was tweeting it. Trump was tweeting about how he had the greatest mind of all time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right.
This is all like 2016 or whatever. Trump.
Damn,
memes.
he's already quoting goat and Gmote.
Yeah, I don't remember who quoted it, but he said it. Trump himself said he had the greatest mind of all time.
Dude,
or one of the greatest minds of all time.
That's really fucking narcissistic. I'm not
well,
gonna
yeah,
lie.
he's like he's the
I'm
most
the greatest mind of all time.
He's a literal megalomaniac,
Yeah.
like.
You thought Socrates was smart. Plato, nothing for me. Plato is made of Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
Huh.
Yeah. Donald says that has been talking about how he is like, quote, like really smart. And then the two greatest assets have been mental stability and being like really smart. Would qualify as not smart but genius in a very. Oh yeah, I remember when he called himself a very stable genius.
I'm a very stable genius, folks. Believe me, I know genius. I know smart people. Smart people know me.
I want to find the quote where he says he has the greatest mind of all time.
He's a compulsive liar.
Maybe that wasn't actually a quote he said.
He's a narcissist. He's a compulsive liar. I mean, just like the fact that he's like, oh, I've never drank anything, no alcohol in my entire life. Photo of him with a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, Jesus Christ. Like, there's fucking photo evidence. And you know what I've come to realize? It doesn't fucking matter. You can say anything.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, that's his whole thing about like murdering somebody on Saks Fifth Avenue and like nobody would care. And like, he's absolutely right. Like, he can just say whatever because like nothing matters because like they just say shit and nothing matters. But do you remember, do you know who Cody Johnson is?
Cody Johnson. That gives
He's like an internet guy. He has a podcast and a YouTube show called Some More News and Even More News. He's kind of like a lefty internet guy. He used to be a Cracked and now like crack.com. But anyway, the only reason I bring him up is, do you remember that Trump used to have a vlog, a YouTube channel where he would vlog?
No.
Yeah, there's like 70 episodes or something of a Trump vlog where it's just Trump looking into a camera and just talking for a while. And he deleted them and he removed them all from the internet, except Cody Johnson downloaded them all before. So Cody Johnson just has apparently like all of these episodes. I'm sure you can find them if you look hard enough. But yeah, Trump used to have a vlog, and it just occurred to me that like that would be a veritable gold mine of just shit to watch. Like I would love to just kind of watch the Trump vlogs.
I would love just we should make a whole episode on Trump's vlogs and take like bits and pieces.
I think there's just too many. I think there's like dozens of them and they're all like multiple hours long or whatever. I don't think it's possible. I just think it's way too much.
No, I've never had a taco bowl at Trump Tower.
Southwest Floridians
so
now
that
responding
is a
to this
screenshot
picture
from
tweeted by Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump.
Such a bad
chowing down
angle.
on a taco bowl on this Cinco de Mayo. Trump claiming that the best Tex-Mex can be found in the Trump Tower.
Oh, but it wasn't just food he was talking about. He also tweeted out that he, quote, loves Hispanics, too.
I love
Morning
Hispanics.
Corner's Michael
I
Cadigan
love
went
the
to some
Hispanics,
Southwest Florida
people.
taco joints to hear what diners there have to say about
I don't
his
care what these
controversial
random
tweet.
people have to say about Trump. But anyway, I think that screenshot is from his vlogs. It was just like from the desk of Donald Trump. I'll do some more digging. I don't know what made me remember those right now. I don't know what brought that up, but yeah, I just forgot that he used to have like a vlog. There you go.
That's fucking hilarious. I swear to God, like we could pick through those. Oh man, I want to go through some of them, but that's so many hours.
Yeah,
And
if we can
pick
even
out-
really find
pick
them
out like
all.
the most ridiculous things.
Because this was all pre 2016. So this is before he was president for the first
Yeah.
time, or the time he was president. So this is like when he was running for president early.
In 2015,
Yeah,
even late 2014 maybe.
I don't know exactly, but be pretty interesting to see like how he's evolved, because that was 10 years ago, man. Like, yeah, 10 years ago, or 9 years ago. Anyway, want to talk about Michael Parenti? So
Sure.
we read a book. We do know how to read. We read it. I have a copy here.
Speak for yourself. I listen to audiobook.
Well, I listen to audiobook too.
Somebody
I
read
went.
it to me.
I go half and half. I got both. Well, the audiobook is free, like I said on Audible last week. The audiobook is free if you have an Audible. I think it's just an Audible premium subscription. But I also wanted to
Have a physical copy.
have a physical. I wanted to add it to my growing collection of kind of leftist books. And this book's like 100 pages, guys. Get out there and read more. I know like everyone just says just read theory. But like honestly, like these books are really short, 160 pages.
On Audible's
It's like
on
4.5
Audible
hours,
is
5
5.5 hours.
5.5 hours.
Yeah.
I listen to things like 1.3 speed. I find is like better. Like I read at 1.5 speed. So like I like to read. That's like what I mean. Like I buy a book on Audible. Or I use my free credits on Audible, and then I'll buy the physical book. And I do this weird thing where I play it and read it. So like I read along while it's playing. And I read at 1.5 Audible speed. So like that's just the speed I read at, which is I don't think it's super fast.
I've never even thought of it like that.
I always have a copy on both Audible. So then when
I'm literally at the gym doing cardio, and he's like, the Soviet Union. And
Yeah.
I'm just like,
yeah. So then when I hop in my car, I'll like continue listening.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, I'll like find where I left off, and then I'll just pick it right up again, listening and reading at the same time. I've been doing it like every book I own upstairs, every book I've been reading, I also have done the Audible and physical. So I get every book twice. It's nice to like read along with somebody. I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I the only person that does that?
Dude, no. It makes sense. You're a teacher. You say, open up your books to chapter 2, and you start
We don't
reading
have
from
books
the
anymore,
book,
but-
and then whatever. Really?
Yeah, we don't have textbooks.
What?
Textbooks don't exist anymore, man. What year do you think this is?
Am I getting-
Every student gets issued a Chromebook.
Are you serious,
Yeah, kids have had Chromebooks for years.
bro? I never had a Chromebook.
I mean, I don't know if that's true of all schools, but every school I've worked at, the kids get Chromebooks.
I graduated in 2013. Okay.
This is like a.
I've always
this
had
is like a-
textbooks for everything.
I've only been teaching since COVID, so like it's
2019, 2020.
yeah, that's as far back as then they've had Chromebooks.
Okay.
I don't know when that
didn't-
switch started.
I thought it was all textbooks still. Whatever. I think bring the textbooks back.
No
They
way,
need
man.
70 pounds on their
Yeah,
back.
I was
while
gonna say
going
that they're like
upstairs.
we're
How do
breaking
you
them,
think I
giving
built
them
these fucking tree
scoliosis,
trunks?
fucking scoliosis.
How do you think I
and
built
shit,
these
yeah.
tree trunks, bro?
Giving them like permanent spine damage. Yeah,
Absolutely.
dude. No way. I
Builds
remember
your
that gear.
character.
I remember like taking your algebra book home and doing like do problems 1 through 31 odd or whatever. Yeah, I remember that shit. No, man, it's all just like Desmos on their Chromebook
Oh
for
my
math.
God. No,
and-
it's probably better.
It's so much better. I
better.
guess like I like on our learning platform like Canvas or whatever, I'll like put out there like I'll make a Google Doc and I'll copy all of the sources that I find, all of the different like links and articles and stuff, and I'll compile them into like a master doc, and I'll like put all the assignments and like questions and like everything in one master doc, and then I'll just give that to the kids, and the kids just make I prompt it so that I change the URL so that it makes a copy when they click on it, so it forces them to make their own copy, so it's in their Google Drive, and then they have all the resources, all their articles, all the assignments in their Google Drive for my class. And then I'm just like, all right, and then so like at the beginning of class I'm like, open this document, we're gonna talk about this today, and it was like the context of like the French Revolution or whatever.
Interesting.
And then that's what we did today. We talked about
Well,
the context of
anyways,
French
I was
Revolution.
saying like you probably be reading and they're following as you're reading.
Yeah, I do that. So like I
Yeah.
have but the way it works is it's actually better than that, because on their Chromebooks they'll have like the source open. So like this source about like Marquis de Lafayette and the founding of like the French Constitution or whatever. That's what we talked about today. And then like so I'll project it on my board, like my projector, and then they have it on their Chromebooks, and if I highlight something on the master copy of the source, it highlights it on their screen. So I could be like, Susie, read that for me. What do you think that means? What do we think that is like in terms of like American democracy? What does that sound like? And it'd be like Article 6 of the French Constitution's like basically describing like due process or something, or free speech or whatever. And it's like because Marquis de Lafayette left America fighting the British and then fucking went and wrote the French Constitution, just basically based on our Constitution. It's like, anyway,
Yeah.
not to get into like the weeds of that, but that's how textbooks work nowadays. It's all just digital.
God damn it, Mole.
Yeah, just the way it goes, man.
Make a whole video on textbooks now.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something valuable about a physical book, which is why I always order a physical book. But like, I get that like the internet is, you can leverage the internet for like value and like use it for good. And I think
Well,
like,
there's also like the
for
amount
something
of trees that you save from not.
yeah. And I mean, like, I'll always print off like 10 copies of every source I have, because a lot of some students like to prefer. Some students have like either like a disability or some kind of special need where like they need a physical copy for whatever reason, like eye strain or whatever. So like I'll always have some, but by and large everyone just prefers to use their laptops. The struggle then is to like, Johnny, get the fuck off Snake, or like he's just playing Pac-Man or Tetris or whatever, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Or like they're on YouTube, because they have their AirPods in under the hoods and they're just watching YouTube. Yeah, you can hear it in a silent room.
No, but you know what I was referencing?
No.
Like the Pornhub intro music.
Oh.
I mean, have you seen like there's like a TikTok of like some guy that was like in a college classroom and he played it not thinking he's like all the way in the back, thinking nobody can see him.
Yeah.
He had his headphones in, like,
but they
noise
weren't
canceling.
connected.
They weren't connected, and everybody turned around like, bro.
Dude, that's funny. There's no
Yeah.
way in hell that, because their Chromebooks are issued by the school. They're like heavily every website is blocked. They're like pretty pissed because like Amazon is blocked and like everything is blocked.
They're good, dude.
Yeah.
They don't need it for anything else.
Yeah.
That's why they're playing Snake.
Yeah, they're playing Google Snake because that's like literally all they have access to. Yeah. and watching YouTube, because those are like, we need YouTube on block because like we have to give them links for stuff. Crash course history.
That's how. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a history teacher's bread and butter right there.
Yeah.
Actually, not really. I don't really use Crash Course too often. Although we did just watch the French Revolution one. Sometimes they're helpful.
I'm at
Most
work,
times they're not.
we have a lot of shit blocked, so I
Yeah.
just I go and play Wordle.
Yeah. Yeah, we Wordle's all the New York Times is unblocked on ours. So like I'll play Wordle as like a class. We'll do it like sometimes like the last like 10 minutes of the last period. We'll just like play Wordle or something.
Yeah.
Or I also have like a premium GeoGuessr account, so we'll do like a GeoGuessr.
Where am I? Well, I'll be looking at that bush. We're in Kazakhstan.
Dude, I'm getting not bad at GeoGuessr.
Yeah.
Fuck, do the daily challenge, but I'm gonna mute
All
this.
right. Tropical trees. Did they see us right now? Did they see
Yeah,
us?
yeah, we're on
tropical trees.
English.
No. Photograph.
We're in Singapore, I would guess.
Can you zoom in again?
Because look, Timpat. Oh, I think we're in the Philippines. What language is this?
No, that's
Japanese.
no. There's
Chinese.
multiple. There's multiple.
This island, is that the picture of the country?
No, that's I don't know.
Dude, I think here.
Hold up.
Hold on.
This is Southeast Asia for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm trying to find
But
it. I think
they're
it's-
all there. It also has.
My guess is Singapore.
Okay.
We don't have to click it yet. We got 2 minutes. They're all They're driving
What's
on
the
the
driver?
left.
What's the plate? What about the plate?
Plates are always blurred, but
What are they driving? A Mercedes? Okay, it's
oh,
gonna
and
be.
it's also a European Union plate. See that blue square? That's a EU
Yeah.
plate. So we're EU.
Oh.
We're driving on the left-hand side as well.
Okay, British. Hold up.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Hold on.
So we're driving on the left-hand side. It says it in multiple. Hold up, is that a soldiers?
Oh, it is a soldier. It's not a country. It's a
Hong
soldier.
Kong.
It's got to be Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong.
There's no way. What else is gonna be? They're
It's got to
driving
be
on
Hong
the left
Kong.
side.
Yeah. Good call, dude. It's Hong Kong. Where the fuck is Hong Kong? Is it Hong Kong? There it is.
It's gonna be.
I don't know. I don't really go too close. I just like guess that. Oh.
What?
It was fucking Singapore. I knew it was Singapore. My gut said Singapore right from the start. I knew it was goddamn Singapore.
But since when does Singapore drive on the left side?
Maybe it was just a one-way street. I don't know.
Oh God.
So it's Latin America?
Or it could be like really bummed down in California.
This is like because that wasn't. Yeah.
This is Latin America.
This feels like Argentina or Chile. I think we're really high up in elevation. Right? I think this is like the high desert. Maybe Peru, but I think we're like in this general area.
Hold up. How are the hills? Are they rocky?
I guess I could be wrong. Should we just become GeoGuessr streamers now?
Dude, that'd be fun. Well, let's see.
I
The
know, I'm
colors.
sure there's like tons of clues that we're missing from like people. What does that say?
Look at that truck right there. Tiny ass truck.
I think Colombia has yellow license plates. We can rule out Colombia. Also, Colombia is a jungle. This isn't Colombia.
Well, there is mountainous regions. What? I mean, it sounds stupid, but let's look at the people.
No, it's not stupid. That's definitely. Oh,
ooh, they got like way more like it looks like indigenous.
that's
like
like
white
that would be like
characteristics?
I think that would be like Peru or Chile, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
it's dry.
It could be like Mongolia too. Well, that was Spanish. That was Spanish. Yeah. This is a clue. It says alto in some Spanish-speaking languages, and it says pare in other, and I don't know which is which. I'm not good enough to know that, but it's a white license plate. I think
Hyundai accent. I'm personally gonna say I think it's Peru, southern Peru,
You want to go there?
or northern. Yeah,
Not bad.
Okay,
It was Chile. It was like central Chile. Yeah. Okay.
Central Chile. That's northern Chile, my friend.
Well, what? Chile starts here. It goes to here.
All the way down.
fuck, yeah,
all
you're
the way
right.
down.
You're right.
Yeah, but you were good with that. Like you said, somewhere in the, like a high
Yeah, I
desert.
played enough to kind of like recognize like most of like just the locales, but then like when it gets to the specifics,
This gives me Bosnia vibes.
yeah,
of,
Eastern European,
flatland. No, this is flatland, man. This is if it's gonna be a flatland, we're most likely looking at if this is in Europe, it's
This
gonna be
is-
Poland or
I'm gonna take a guess right here before we go any further. I think I know where this is.
Where?
I think this is like central England, northern England.
Oh, because the style of building.
Yeah, but before we'll know when we see a license plate.
Are they on the left side of the road or right side of the road? They're on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a Volkswagen.
ADT.
This is a richer, flat country.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what other cars? So, okay, this is definitely Europe. They've got. We can put this as our own episode, by the way. Not episode, but like a clip.
Yeah.
It's just for shits and giggles. Citroen, or is that Mercedes? Mercedes.
Dude, is that a yellow license plate? Oh, but they are
Can't tell.
driving on the right though. This isn't England. Okay. I don't know.
But this is somewhere northern.
It could be like northern France or something.
It could be. Because it's
Oh,
got
here we go,
Citroen.
here we go.
Oh, here we
What's
go.
the language?
That's French.
Yeah, I think we're in like northern France.
Yeah.
I don't know where Gauderville is. I don't know enough about the French. I think we're like.
Let's go. Don't go that way. Don't go that way. I
we're
personally
like Lyon down here.
no. I
Western
think so.
France. What do you want to guess? Which
I
quadrant?
want to guess
Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right.
like center almost.
Just like right here.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Oh,
Belgium.
it's Belgium, huh?
Okay, well that is an option too.
Oh shit, yeah.
but
I guess
it is
that's
a
also
flat
Spain.
plain because
Yeah.
when you go to southern France, you start getting the mountains on both sides, the Alps.
What does it say? First class.
First class.
Oh.
Enjoy. Auto Wasche in just German.
German, either Austria or Germany.
Austria, Germany, even parts of Switzerland, even certain parts of France and the Netherlands.
Bia. I don't know. See, like this should be obvious to like a professional geoguesser. There's probably tons of clues in here that like a real geoguesser would know. But alas, I do not.
What's that? Kika?
Oh, here's like a highway sign. Let's see.
Serial in Gisiro, Austria, Danubia.
Yeah, I think we're.
Also, the Danube, the Trans-Danubia, the Danube goes through Austria and through Hungary. So this could be like
I don't know.
northeastern Austria.
Northeastern Austria.
Yeah, because I don't see mountains.
Outside of Vienna somewhere, maybe.
So actually, where's the Danube? Wait. Where's the Danube? Find the Danube.
I don't know.
So it's either north of Vienna or south of Vienna because the Danube has to be pretty close.
That's a pretty big river.
Yeah.
Does Danube cut Vienna in half?
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yes.
This is probably. I don't know. You want to just guess here?
I want to go just north of it, like where
Like here?
yeah, like that, because it doesn't seem like it's like a flourishing city right now. Because Vienna's huge.
Oh yeah, we're only 100 miles. Good job. Yeah, we're like 100 miles west of.
I said northern Austria, so
Yeah, no, good call.
Ooh.
Okay. They always gotta throw a hard one in there. This is the last one, by the way.
Okay. It's wet. It's rainy. That's rust.
Yeah, it's like either North America. I think North America.
Well, see that car. I could tell a lot of places about what kind of car they drive. Oh, actually, this might
like Romania or some shit.
Like, no, this might be like New Zealand.
Hotel Rio. That doesn't really help.
Hotel Rio, but they're
I don't know. This looks a little like not New Zealand. In my experience, I think is like a little more developed than this looks.
This could be a more rural area. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't. To be fair, I don't know enough about New Zealand.
It's kind of so it's flat. We'll give them that.
No, you know what I think this is? I think this is like Central Africa.
Really?
I think this is like Uganda or Kenya or something. We'll find out soon enough.
That's kilometers. Nobody does 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that is not the U.S. 80 kilometers. You might wait.
Oh no, that's Brazil.
Salto Limpieza. Well, it could still be in Portugal. It could still be Mozambique. Buenos Aires.
It's in Brazil.
Okay, Argentina.
Oh yeah, Argentina. Is it Argentina? Buenos
But
Aires?
it's gonna be how many? What does that say? This is gonna be like the outside of Argentina, outside of Buenos Aires.
Yeah, like deep in the jungle somewhere, like up here or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, not bad. 80 miles.
Bro, we should just we should do this like sometimes.
We'll do it every episode.
Yeah, we'll do like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that wasn't. I mean, like 25 is the max you can get. So like obviously it's not great, but we're not professional geoguessers, so you know what? Whatever.
That's fun.
Anyway, that's fun.
All right.
All right, well, let's do a quick little bio. Michael Parenti, born in 1933. The homeboy is 90 years old. I actually thought he was dead. When we decided to do this, I didn't think he was alive. I didn't know. But no, he's still alive. He's 90 years old. He was born he grew up in New York City to an Italian American family. He went to City College in New York for his bachelor's degree. He went to Brown University for his master's, and he went to Yale for his PhD. He was. I just threw down some interesting facts here. He was arrested at a Vietnam protest. So he was like an academic, like a tenured professor teaching in a bunch of colleges in the kind of New England area. I think in Chicago in particular was where his or they call it like University of Illinois. I believe one of those colleges. And he was a professor and a pretty accomplished professor. He went to an anti-Vietnam protest in 1970, and he was arrested with like some really trumped up charges of like assaulting an officer. There was like a parade of witnesses at his trial. Everyone that was there said he absolutely did not do this. Like, you know, it was very obvious. There was just tons of people that like vouched for him and like that came to his trial or whatever and just said like, no, this, like, you know, I saw him. He did not strike the officer or whatever.
Yeah.
But the judge found him guilty anyway because he was a Marxist professor. You know, he was like a dirty commie protesting Vietnam. And so he was found guilty of like a bunch of felonies, actually. And so he fought it for like 2 years. He tried to like, he appealed it or whatever, but he eventually lost. He spent 2 years on probation, had to pay a bunch of fines. But what that gave was the kind of more conservative board of directors and like board of like regents or whatever on all of the colleges that he had like a tenured professors at, that allowed them to fire him. And they had wanted to fire him because he was like a Marxist professor, but he had tenure and you can't, you know what I mean? Like his position was stable until this gave them cause to axe him. And it actually blacklisted him from teaching anywhere again. So he never taught again. He was just never able to teach again because of that reputation that he had like a felony and like was this Marxist like rabble rouser that was going around punching cops or whatever that followed him. And I guess everywhere he tried to work, he could just not, he never was able to get a new contract teaching. And so that was actually kind of a big deal because that was his whole thing, was he was a professor. And so he actually turned to writing full time because he couldn't get a job as a teacher. So that's when he started writing books. Yeah. And this was in the early to mid-70s.
Don't have to be, well, it's also, I guess in a way you could, spin it in a positive aspect, because like if you are banned from teaching, it's like, okay, well, I have nothing holding me back to actually say what I need to say, because the worst they can do is not hire me. And so if they're not going to hire me, I'm going to be completely open with my Marxism. I'm going to be completely open and transparent with, the Soviet Union, about all the type of Red Scare bullshit that things that were going on during that time. And which is good because it can give people an aspect of and a certain perspective of like what Marxism is, without having to have like some sort of like cushion pillow, a muffled pillow in front of his mouth to not say everything that he needs to say.
Yeah, I mean, it can allow him to just like say like exactly what you said, just like kind of like be really honest and be really frank and just not hold back, you know. And I mean, the guy just has been prolific. I mean, I'm looking at some of his bibliography. Starting in, I mean, he wrote a couple of things in the he wrote one thing in 69, one thing in 71, but starting in 75, he kind of like took off and he wrote quite a bit. And we read, so for those of you kind of just tuning in, we read the book Blackshirts and Reds, Rational Fascism and the Overthrow of Communism. And this book was written in 1997, I want to say. So it's relatively new in terms of like his tenure or his like career. But that does make it 28 years old, give or take. Yeah. So like it's old, but I'm older than this book, so it's not like it's not a Marxist, like we're not reading Lenin or Engels here.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I don't know. Let me just, I guess, start with just overall impressions. So I will say this is the first time I read this book. I know this is kind of like what everyone says is like the seminal modern Marxist classic. Like if you're going to read Marxist theory or like any kind of political book, it should be this one. I think I disagree with that. I think State and Revolution is probably like, if you're going to read one book, it should be State and Revolution, but I digress. That's if you're reading this one, if you do choose this as the book you read, it's great. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, it's only like 160 pages. It's free on Audible. You can get it. It's about 5 hours or so on Audible. It's free. So there's really no reason to not kind of read this book. What did you think? What was your overall impression?
I think it was genuinely a great book because it kind of gives you like a perspective and like an inside eye inside the Soviet Union that you're not really supposed to see. Because I know a lot of like leftists in general, when they're writing, they praise the Soviet Union, blah, 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 blah. But it's also nice to hear criticisms of why it didn't work out. And you don't get that from many leftist authors. They go on to praise Marxism, but when it's put into action, there are certain things that like we need to reevaluate. And what best way to do that than like take a look of history, what happened, and what can be improved. And he kind of goes into that direction of, it's like, hey, like these things that happen in Russia, it might have been from their culture, it might have been from this or that, but obviously these things happen because when you alienate, say, the people in the USSR from like technological goods from Japan, they get a little jealous that they can't have that. And so like, how do you combat them? That's real. That is a real thing that happened, and and then they see like, oh, we can only have these things that we produce. How can you combat that without without giving up on your Marxist ideology or turning toward like a capitalist spin, like Deng eventually pushed China? How can you hold on to like this pure idealistic communism without giving into the capitalist markets? And it's a really good and eye-opening to actually be able to read about the mishaps of the USSR.
The entire chapter 5, or excuse me, the entire chapter 4 is called Communism in Wonderland, and it very much details all of the bureaucratic kind of inefficiencies of Soviet-style communism. And I think that's, I think he did that for two reasons. One is that there's no better, it's a very tried and true debate tactic, is if you're like presenting an argument or any kind of argumentative, it's an argumentative flair of, if you're presenting this argument and you have your thesis and you have, here's my point, and then say, well, here's a counterpoint that you could say, so you say it before they can.
Exactly.
And then you kind of cut them off at the knees.
You think of what they're going to say and you say it yourself, and then you already correct it. And
then but I like that, like, he is very open, like, yes, Soviet style communism, or like their problems within the Soviet Union, because that's kind of the main, the biggest example of kind of communism in the last 7 years, China and Cuba and a handful of others notwithstanding. But he talks about like there's these sections in the book called rewarding inefficiency, nobody minding the store, wanting it all is what he was talking about, of like that luxury good aspect. But like what he's talking about, essentially, to summarize that chapter, is like, there is a certain human element to like that greed of like, if you're not being rewarded for that, like for going above and beyond, it's very easy to take a bribe. It's very easy to like. And
what's crazy is like when I talk to my grandfather or my parents, they say the way they were explaining Yugoslavia, like some certain parts that were not that great, like minor corruption within systems. It was exactly as he was explaining it.
Which is like, I've seen that sense. And heard that, And
I don't know if that's just Slavic culture, and I mean,
no, I think that's just human culture. I think that's just human nature. Is like,
but there's like something like, for example, like when I think about Balkan people, there's a certain thing like,
not lazy.
No, it's not lazy. It's kind of like it's almost like human culture to share. It's like, hey, I'm this guy in this department. My fucking house, my roof is leaking. I don't know how to fix a roof. You do that for me, and like, maybe you don't have to pay as many taxes.
Yeah, and they kind of mentioned of like, you get paid the same whether you like farm a truckload of whatever or a barrel load. So why farm a truckload? Why break your back?
He was talking about that during the Vietnam portion, and he was basically saying communist like farmers were basically like, well, we would get that portion of money from the government no matter how much we were producing. And so why work extra hard to produce twice as much when we're just going to get the same money back?
He also mentioned, I think, the same thing as like hitting quotas in like Soviet factories of like, when you're producing whatever you're producing, it's like, you don't want to produce that much because then your quota will rise. So it's like, the more you work, the less you're rewarded, or the more you're expected, the harder you're expected to work. So it's like, why? And for no extra pay. So why? But I would also, and he counters that, I would counter that, and he counters that, is that's exactly the same system we have in capitalism, but just without the healthcare or the guaranteed job. So it's like, I'd rather have that than this. So like, he lists, but and he makes that point in the next chapter, is like, all that being said, that's no different than our current system of capitalism.
Yeah.
But the only difference is under our current system of capitalism, there's no safety net for if you lose your job. You're under a Soviet style communism, you're guaranteed just another job, which caused inefficiency because you really it didn't matter if you got quote unquote fired.
If you got fired, they're like, I'll just get another job.
They'll give me another job.
And so there's things like that. Perspective is like, yes, we need to guarantee jobs, right?
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't have a job, but at the same time, things can't go unpunished.
Yeah.
Like, how do we now, if somebody gets fired because he's blatantly racist and, our Constitution guarantees that person a job, how do we punish that person to not do that again? And so that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
How do we improve on certain human nature, or just like on a materialistic basis? How do we improve on a situation like that?
Yeah,
because we need people to work, but
I have the perfect like one-to-one analogy for this of like, and this is 100% true. This is anecdotal, but I don't think it's super anecdotal. I think this is like true of all teachers. To kind of bring this to another real world example of teaching in America under capitalism is this exact parable. It's this same system. And what I mean by that is it's that essay that I wrote where my main thesis was like, teaching is a job where no one checks in on you. It's kind of like the shopping cart theory, right? There is like, at least for me teaching 9th grade history, no one minds the store. No one checks in on what I'm doing. I could put my feet up and just play videos, play movies all class period, and I would get paid the same whether or not I designed, like I spent the night working after hours designing and implementing like engaging and like interesting lessons that the kids are like, exploring and doing all this stuff. Whether I kick my feet up and watch a movie or do like all of this extra, like making really engaging lesson plans, I get paid the same. So like you would think behoove me, and logic would tell you that I would just kick my feet up and watch movies, but I don't. I work very hard to design and implement engaging lesson plans. No one is making me do that. No one is watching to see if I am doing that. No one cares whether or not I do it. Generally, that's kind of the state of American public education with some caveats and with some exceptions here and there. But by and large, that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And I strive for the best because for one thing, there's a couple reasons for that. I think one is because this is a second career for me. I worked 10 years in a corporate like marketing kind of position and I fucking hated it. And I went to teaching because I wanted to be a teacher. So like I chose this career because I love it and I want to do it well.
Yeah.
And so I think the lesson there is how do you reward that, or let's not reward that because I'm not getting paid any more for it, but how do you find people that fit
is not
those
always financial,
but there is an emotional and like there's the mental, and I love my job and that is the reward. I guess
here's an idea,
but my point is, how do you find people, how do you find more of me to be teachers and less of the feed up movie guys and get those out of teaching? Likewise to this farming is like, how do you find guys that want to deliver this? I don't think.
Well, listen, there's always things like janitors. People have to do dirty jobs. Nobody wants to do that. Yeah. Right. There's things that feel really good, almost altruistic. Like, you're in medicine. You want to improve medicine. You're a teacher. You want to do better as a teacher to have kids do better and, become a better person. But there's many jobs don't have that instinctive, like, I want to mow this grass better than somebody else. Yeah. So these things have to be done. But what you can do instead of like absolute finance, you get a bonus or you get a bonus, because that you start separating.
That's a weird slippery slope. That doesn't actually solve the problem.
What you can do is you can give them discounts. You can be like, okay, instead of having to put a 5% down on your first house, or you could put 3%. We're gonna give you that because you do such a good job. Yeah, we see you as a future.
That's one possible solution. I mean, there's different things you could do, and so like I think to get back to the book is like the Soviets kind of like didn't figure that out fast enough or intentional enough, and it was also the first. Like, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt is like, hopefully under, God willing, an American style communism, like that would be addressed and like researched and say this is the problem we're seeing. There's a certain level of like apathy or like lack of vigor or whatever of like working hard. How do we reward that? I think that would need to be addressed, right? Like the problems he explains,
social credit points.
Yeah, social credit points. Oh, you mean like a credit score?
Yeah, social credit score.
Yeah, so I don't know. That would have to be addressed, but I just wanted to call that out. That he's very much like open to self criticism and like self crit. I think that's important.
I mean, honestly, like I don't like the idea of a social credit score, but it also kind of makes sense. Kind of, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we have a social credit score in America.
I know, but it's a real credit. Yeah, I know, the actual credit score.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like a social credit score, it's just like how well you do at the job. You do better at the job and like do better results, you might just get better, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
like
if I
it
necessarily
also,
like that, but
I like kind of the aspect of that, but like also it's negative if something happens or like you fuck up at work and then now you can't fucking get a loan or your dog gets taken away or some shit.
I'm sure smarter people than us have like thought about this. We don't need to be the ones to solve Soviet-style communism, but it is interesting to think about. And
I would love to solve Soviet-style communism.
Put us in charge, guys. Whoever leads
we'll figure it out. We'll be very open.
Yeah,
with the entire.
We need to find
function.
the next Lenin, Stalin, and Trotsky, and then have them put us in charge of like social planning. Whoever the next communist revolutionary is. Hit us up, revolutionaryrhetoric@gmail.com.
There you go. So, but getting back to the book in general, I think as it is a great book, I haven't read any other books, but I've had fellow family members read another book of his, and I want to kind of bring this perspective into how would I explain this? Not every leftist scholar is going to be 100% correct about everything.
Yeah.
And I've come across from this a few times now where, for example, personally, as many people probably know, I am Bosnian. I was born during a siege in Sarajevo. My family went through a lot. My people went through a lot. And recently, reading this book, I also found out that he was a big fan of Slobodan Milosevic, which does not take lightly to me. And it's not the only person. Noam Chomsky. And I've realized in leftist spheres, I kind of want to turn this into talking a little bit, and we'll go back to Parenti.
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
That people are kind of looking, they're not looking deeper and with more context than just praising any quote unquote socialist republic. For example, Yugoslavia was a socialist republic. It wasn't a pure Marxist-Leninist republic, but it was a trialed socialist state. But after the war in 92, 93, 94, 95, when that shit broke up, that wasn't a socialist country anymore. That was a whole different thing. But people would still go on about and praise Slobodan Milosevic, who became the first president of that newly found country, which was the Federal Republic, the Federal Jesus Christ, because the Social Federation Republics of Yugoslavia, and this is the Federal Republics of Yugoslavia. So they dropped the socialism. But when NATO bombed in the late 90s, when NATO bombed Belgrade, they hated NATO for it, and they praised Serbia. I don't like NATO, but you have to understand is with context, the person that they are bombing is also not great. He is not a good man. Look up who he actually is. He was a big fan of ethnic cleansing of Muslim people because he is a nationalist. He is a backing of the group called Chetniks, who are a fascist militia group. And they want to cleanse anybody that is not Serbian out of those lands, anybody that is Muslim, any Roma. And like they are not, this guy and the group that they're involved in are not good people. And so when somebody like that is getting praised by a socialist philosopher like this for being a quote unquote Stalinist or a good communist, it's not a good look because the guy wasn't actually a communist. He wasn't a Marxist. He was an opportunist. So whenever there was an opportunity to come into play, and he might have not even been a racist. He might have didn't give a fuck, but he was an opportunist at the end of the day.
What's his name? The guy?
Slobodan Milosevic. Slobodan. But this guy funded all the Serb proxy units in Bosnia, and those people conducted a literal genocide. Like a quarter of my family's dead. You know, my uncle doesn't have an arm. And so a lot PTSD. I mean, yeah, it's rough, and it sucks because I was loving this book, and I still like the book, right? But like I said, a family member of mine read another one of his books because I was talking about him, and in his foreword of the book, he had Slobodan Milosevic write about uniting the people and Marxism, but this guy was literally conducting genocide against my people, and also was very racially discriminatory against Kosovars. And you might be saying, oh, that's because, you know, the capitalism, they're, you know, getting capitalistically funded by the West, NATO, blah, 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 to break apart Yugoslavia. I agree. Those not Kosovar people in general, but the U.S. and the West was trying to break up Yugoslavia because you can't have a socialist state and have it work and then give that idea to the West that you can have socialism that works. Any type of socialism, right? That's why we invaded all those countries. That's why we invaded Vietnam, Korea, right? What they did was they financially broke us apart in Yugoslavia. The IMF, they basically convinced us of getting IMF loans and opening that whole spot up. But anyways, it's not about that. It's like, if this person is, and the people from Kosovo, Albanians, this predates capitalism.
Yeah.
Right. These people hate Serbians. Serbians hate them. Serbians hate Muslims. And I'm not saying Serbians as the people, but like certain extremist groups, and sometimes those extremist groups get a handle on the actual government, and they conduct what their ideology is in the name of those people, in the name of Serbian people and Muslims. And there's a lot of Muslims that did war crimes too. They should be put in jail. Same thing with Croatians. They were literally fascist puppets. But that does not mean you should now go and slaughter those people and then get praise for it from Marxists for being a Marxist, except you're not a Marxist. You're a nationalist extremist.
Right.
And a genocide. It's like we can't be free Palestine and then like ignore something that happened 25 years ago because it was under the name of Yugoslavia. That's all I'm saying. It's like
no, I think that's fair. And I think first addressing and like wrestling with those contradictions even within the left, I think is important. I think we talked about this just before we started recording. You brought all this to my attention because this was all news to me. I am notoriously ignorant on like the Yugoslavian history, and kind of everything Kanan just said was all new to me. And I just was trying to Google right now quickly while you were speaking, like trying to find some rationale. Has Parenti like kind of turned around on Milo? What? How do you pronounce it?
Slobodan. Sloboda means freedom.
Okay, what was just his last name?
Milosevic.
Yeah. I was thinking if Parenti had kind of like maybe like said something about Milosevic in the days since he wrote that, because he wrote To Kill a Nation in 2001 or 2000.
Yeah, and that's that's 2000 or 2001.
To Kill a Nation, the attack on Yugoslavia was 2001. So that's when he was in The Hague, or he was undergoing his Hague trials, or 2004 or whatever. But my point is I was looking just now to see if Parenti has said anything since then, and maybe kind of like walked back some of that of like I was wrong or whatever. All I can find, and he hasn't as far as I can tell, but I mean I Googled for 30 seconds. But what I did find was like people asking like, why is Parenti such like a genocide apologist when it comes to that guy? And it's the internet, so all I could really find was like anarchist subreddit saying tanky's gonna tank and stuff like that, which isn't obvious, like isn't helpful. Because like anarchists just hate tankies regardless, and like that's just saying he's a tanky isn't actually like helpful to the conversation. So
I'm a fucking tanky.
I'm a tanky.
Yeah.
We're literal tankies here. But like the way they use tanky as pejorative isn't how we internally claim tanky. Those are different things. Like they claim tanky as just like, it doesn't matter. It's like an insult to just anybody left of Noam Chomsky. They're like, "Oh, you're a tanky," and they don't want to hear it. But regardless, I digress. I think calling out those hypocrisies and internal contradictions among the left is an important thing. I think like not like there's problems with every. I think that's dialectical materialism. We've had this exact same conversation regarding Stalin before of like, there are inherent contradictions with what he did that don't align with the Marxist like ideology, and we have to like account for that. And
he also talks about in his book that Stalin did some fucked up shit, but you can't blame socialism because Stalin moved 1 million Ukrainians from Ukraine into like Kazakhstan.
But like, you also can't, in addition to not blaming socialism, you also can't just say Stalin evil, move on. Like Stalin also did a lot of good things, and like under his leadership a lot of people flourished, and like a lot of the life expectancy was raised and the quality of life was raised.
Same thing with
like,
in China, with
under Mao, like
even for example the Three Gorges Dam, they had to evacuate, what was it, like 500,000
and that
people?
was like a huge clusterfuck, and that wasn't like an intentional like murder. It was just like mistakes are made, and we don't apologize. We don't apologize for them, but we recognize that like people are fallible and make mistakes, and you can take the good with the bad and move on. And there's context.
But there's also context. He didn't move 1 million people because like get the fuck out of here, you know. He's like, no, it was like we need to make this so 10 million people get electricity. Here's some money. Go buy another house somewhere. You don't have a choice.
And again, just to like, and not to be like a whataboutist, but like eminent domain in America,
it's a real thing.
It's like America does that same thing and has done that same thing. The Trail of Tears, these forced marches, like America has done all of the same and worse, but you don't treat Andrew Jackson the same way you treat Stalin.
Put him on the fucking dollar bill.
Yeah, so like,
right?
So let's all settle down with the Stalin hate. We're tankies. We're gonna defend some Stalin.
But and it's like the same thing. He's like, what? That was 150 years ago, you know. Okay,
so Stalin was 70 years ago.
100 years ago.
Or I guess now,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
so
literally, they're in the fucking revolution. He was there too.
So like,
20,
so what difference does it make? It's all dead men. So like, I don't parse degrees of dead generations. It's all.
But no, it's because the Red Scare. It's because it's
it's because 70 years.
It's
70 years of anti-communist propaganda.
Well,
you know, the Second World War II ended. You know, Red Scare propaganda, McCarthy era.
Fucking video I was watching a video earlier today on like weird military tactics, right? And somehow Lenin was brought up during the Romanov. Like so it's like weird military tactics that surprisingly worked, right? And there's one like they're throwing a Japanese during World War II. A Japanese sub comes up to a British ship, and they didn't even realize it. They look down. There's a Japanese people sleeping on a submarine, and they look up at each other like, and they didn't know what to do, so they start throwing potatoes, and they thought it was grenades, so they started throwing potatoes back. And it gave enough time for the British ship to move away from the submarine. So because they were throwing potatoes, they didn't die, right? Okay. But then somehow they got into context of Lenin during the revolution, how they killed the entire Romanov family, blah, blah, blah.
Isn't that disputed now, though?
I don't know.
I think
even if it's not, I understand that the contextual reason why they did it. Because if there's any of them left, they have a reason,
a claim to the throne.
That's
the whole Anastasia, like the whole Princess Anastasia faking that woman who claimed to be the princess, even though I think that has since been debunked, just so she could hold on to that claim. I think that was like a CIA puppet. Well, this was before the CIA, but that was like a Western puppet. Just found somebody, claimed that was a relative of the Romanovs, just so they could reinstate the Tsarist regime.
So that was the point of the nowadays, we can't do that nowadays. This is 120 years ago. Things are different. 120 years ago, Russia literally had a fucking king. It was a feudalist society, you know? So you have to take these things with context, right? And so, but they're like, oh, Lenin, a totalitarian, warmongering, you know, leader, takes down, occupies Russia and reinforces their eminent domain on the entire the surrounding landscape. I'm like, dude,
calm down, man. Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, we were just talking about random fucking facts, and you just had to throw that in. I'm like, okay. It was like, are you gonna like talk about you know, like the Civil War, or are you gonna talk about like anything the Americans have done and say it with the same tone?
No,
and I know. And so again, context. Yes, Stalin did some fucked up shit, but he also like.
I would also argue that most of what he did that caused like mass murders. I mean, sure, there was like the independent and internal purges of like military personnel stuff, and like that. I'm not excusing any of that, but like kind of like the larger starvation stuff, and this is true of Mao too. Mm-hmm. That isn't done like that wasn't none of that was intentional. That was also done in the like that. The point of that those cooperative farms was to feed people that weren't getting fed. So like it was all done altruistically, and it was done out of the goodness of heart.
They didn't want to.
Yeah, and then the Cossacks burned a lot of fields.
But then
and
you know, there's a whole like, the Holodomor. I'm like,
the Holodomor's bull. That's not a real thing. That's a fake thing. Yeah.
I know, but like the people are forgetting context.
Yeah, it's all context,
right?
And so
and they're like, because if they look into the history of it, the reason why that happened, and by the way, it was happening in Kazakhstan and other parts in Russia. It was happening. The plagues were happening. The droughts were happening in Russia. Yep. And so it wasn't just Ukraine. Ukraine just happened to be the wheat field of Europe, right? Of Eastern Europe in general.
Yeah, I mean that's to this day that's still.
It was because one scientist had to bunk science, and somehow because of bureaucracy, he got basically a shitty degree and everybody contested him. He got into government somehow, and he became like the leading scientist for the agricultural department. And he had this whole idea is like, if we just toughen the seeds with winter, they'll be harder seeds. I'm like, which is scientific bunk now. But they did that, and that fucked up everything.
Crops, yeah.
And ever since then, they're like, okay, no more of this. And so surprisingly, no more huge droughts, no more mass starvation. But it wasn't on purpose. But the CIA in the West will flip that. They will flip that, and they'll make it to be like, oh, look, this Stalin killed millions of people, starved 40 million people.
And Parenti like debunks that in this book of like to kind of bring it back to the book.
Yeah.
He talks about like that would be an impressive feat of like if you did the math of like Russia's population at the time, like that means that Russia's population would be growing at like alarming rates. And he even goes into like we have the records after the Soviet Union fell, we have the Gulag records, and it's like I actually meant to look this up and I forgot. Damn.
Majority of gulags closed in 53.
Yeah,
54.
like the gulags weren't a
95%
thing.
of
These
them.
like work camps. I mean, they were a thing, but I mean, like it wasn't just some like mass deportation to gulags and just mass murders and stuff. It's like that's all been overblown, propagandized, and made up. And like, yeah, the gulags were like essentially just prisons. I think it was like for whatever the period was, like a massive percentage of them were released.
The way they were the way they were intricately like explained here in the U.S., it was like they're death camps.
Yeah, they're
right?
not death camps.
They were sent to Siberia and they starved to death within 3 weeks. He's like, no, majority of these people were either nationalists.
Yeah, or a lot of them were criminals. It was like
criminals.
murders and thieves, and
they
like,
were sent to these gulags, to these camps, to these labor camps, and they can work off their sentence.
Yeah, which I think like most of them did. There was I forget the statistic, and I should have like highlighted in the book, but like he quotes the statistics that we have from the records of like most of these people just worked their sentence and then went home.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it was like
5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, it wasn't some death camp, which I would argue is much more humane than like the American prison system, where like we have what 20% of what's the stat? 20% of the world's prisons.
Yeah, 5% of the population.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the same. But here's the thing: it's the same thing happening here. I think from what I remember from his statistics, the amount of people that were in the gulags
I can pull it up
back then, when there was 200 million Soviets, and right now 5 million people in what was it? How many people are right now in U.S.?
340 million.
No, I know 340 million, but how many people in the U.S. prisons? U.S.
2.5 million.
U.S. prisons population.
No, that's way too low. Oh,
U.S. prison population 1.2 million, 1.23 million.
okay.
Right. So it's the Soviets had like 30% more of people in prison, and this is under Stalin, the dictator, right? And well, we have fucking Kamala Harris and Joe Biden right now. So imagine just like a whole different contextual scenario where just like this is post World War II. They're trying to reconstruct the entire economy, and there's a lot of opposing factions. They just had a civil war. They just had World War I. They had World War II. And yes, Stalin was he was a very strong leader, but sometimes he fucked up too. But after 53, when he died, they closed the majority of camps, and they think like, the Soviet Union is a totalitarian dictatorship, except every 5-6 years they had a new fucking president.
Yeah.
So kind of if that's a totalitarian dictatorship, we have Obama here for 8 years. We had Bush for 8 years, longer than the Soviet presidents were.
Yeah, we had the Bush dynasty.
Yeah, the Bush dynasty, multiple
Bushes.
Can you imagine Stalin's son coming in?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like,
well, wasn't that guy a fucking idiot? But
yeah.
that's a separate conversation.
Hey, so was
I guess.
fucking George Bush.
That's fair. Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah, he says like the sorry, I just had the stat here. It was like I don't know. I mean, I lost it. It doesn't matter. The point is that it was about the gulags and just like how they made they worked 8-hour days, 6 days a week for
That's right. Yep.
yeah, $40 a month, which I think is more than what American prisoners today make.
Yeah.
So like,
and that was 60 years ago.
And that was 70.
This is comparative. This is in the
No,
90s.
I don't. Oh, this is in the 90s. This is in 89. Yeah.
Yeah. This is 98.
Yeah.
This is 98. So
98. No.
yeah, because this book was written 98. So he probably.
It actually doesn't say if it's adjusted for inflation or not. So it's 250 rubles, which is about $40 a month. I don't know if that's. Yeah, this book was written, but I mean, I don't know if that's adjusted for inflation at that time or not.
But regardless, even if it was adjusted for inflation in the 90s,
it doesn't matter. It's still more than American prisoners
it
make.
would be way more than American prisoners make right now, and that somehow
it's like $2 a day or whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, he also cites like once like the wall came down and like the Western countries kind of flooded in, they were like trying to prosecute all of these like mass murderers, like this Nuremberg style, trying to find these people, and they couldn't find anybody. I think they had like what Poland did is they sentenced they tried 12 incredibly elderly
policemen for,
that
like,
were
brutality.
around in Stalin's day because they were like guards at a prison or something, and like they mistreated some prisoners over 50 years ago, and that's the only people they could find to round up to try in these like public trials, because like there was no like mass murder or mistreatment. This wasn't a Nazi regime of doing the Holocaust. It was just bureaucracy. Like,
and if you think about it, like, if you think about it, if there were more of these things, but there wasn't, because it's 90% of it's made up.
Most of it's
and
made
10%
up,
of it is true. But even that truth comes with a certain context, right? And this is what Parenti talks about. He goes back all the way from feudalistic days to modern day society, and he talks about what happened after the USSR fell. He talks about how majority of the Russians wanted to go back because they realized that they were so privileged to even realize that, like, hey, I didn't know. I thought when you were just sick, you went to the doctor. You didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that this was the capitalist system. And I think that when it comes to that, that is one thing that they could have fixed.
Yeah, there's a section in here called "We Didn't Realize What We Had," and it's quotes from these people that like they just like, you know, the grass is always greener type thing, and they just didn't really realize that, like, they took it for granted. And like, you know, once you're in capitalism, and this is the anecdote, and this is like what you hear all the time from North Korean defectors, is every time a North Korean crosses into South Korea, they want to go back because it's like, oh, capitalism sucks. Like, yeah, it may not be great in North Korea, but like I think the vast majority of North Korean defectors like long to go back to North Korea once they get a taste of capitalism. And it's like, yeah, the grass is always greener, and you think, like, because also this is due to capitalist propaganda of like this like beautiful, the American dream, and everyone's gonna have 2-car garages and a beautiful house, whatever, and then you get here and it's just like, oh, you have to grind 3 jobs just so you don't starve to death. Where it's like in a communist country, you may not have a great job and the food might not be all that great, but you have your basic living necessities taken care of. You don't work all that hard. You certainly don't work as hard as you would in America. Like, the average, not even close. Like,
no,
what is it? You
go to
like,
work, fuck around, and you come home and you live your life.
And like, yeah, you don't have all the same luxury goods. And I think people get like mesmerized by the idea of like having a car and having a stereo and all this stuff. But like,
the thing is, that's why I think that's one good thing that Tito did, right? That Yugoslavia did. It's just like, they didn't cut themselves off from the rest of the world.
China's a good example of this too.
They weren't very isolationist, right? If say it's 70s Yugoslavia, it still is communist, like, right? It's the way they structured things was a little different than the USSR. They had more opportunity as like a small, almost like a dengism, right? Where like you can have like a small shop that is owned by people and it's not owned by the government. But like I was talking to my dad, my dad's like 90% of jobs were owned by the government. The 10% of jobs that were not owned by government was a small ass grocery on the side. Yeah. Like AM, PM, stuff like that. People like can like run with their family. For sure. If you have anything more than like 6 employees, it's a government job. It turns into a government job, right?
Like a state-owned,
But like, what was great about Yugoslavia, for example, was if you were in, I don't know, Romania, you couldn't get Levi's jeans, right? Everybody was like, oh, they want to leave. And Yugoslavia, if you really wanted Levi's jeans, you just get in a train, go to Venice, Italy, hop off, buy Levi's jeans, and take a train back. You had the opportunity to get these goods, right? But at home, be like, hey, we got Yugoslavian jeans for 1/5 the price. And then people will come back and like, oh, Levi's jeans, really cool. But then they're like, well, this is pretty much the fucking same thing. They realized that after a while, it's pretty much the same thing. And then that gave people in Yugoslavia a chance to like compete with their types of goods, Italian goods.
I think that's something that happens as you age, right? Like kids, younger kids, not to overly generalize, but I think like kids want like the new trendy thing. They want to spend the money on the jeans, whatever. But I think as you get older, you kind of don't care about that shit. Yeah. And I think that's what Parenti also recognizes is like that idea for like the revolution and like this idea of like revolutionary communism and that comradeship or whatever. He's like, that's for the older generations, and the kids want the Levi's and the stereos and stuff. And so it's like that's kind of, it was once it was 1 or 2 generations removed from the revolution, people kind of forgot why there was a resolution because they don't remember the czarist oppression, you know, like they don't have that in their memory.
That was grandpa.
Kids growing up post Stalin were like 80 or you know, in the 80s. You
have to learn Marxism.
Yeah, if you're in the early 80s in East Berlin and you want to listen to punk and you want to just visit West Berlin or whatever, it's like, oh, I can see how like you have no connection to like the revolution. And that's what Parenti talks about is like once you lost that connection to the revolution, it's really hard to like keep that revolutionary spirit, and you don't know what you don't have, so you want it. but you're also like, it's a double-edged sword, because once you lose what you do have, you're gonna miss it. And yeah, I just pulled up some stats. Yeah, in 2012, 100 defectors returned to North Korea via China. 700 defectors returned in 2015. It's like a thing. People who defect from North Korea, like the majority of them want to go back. I think. Like looks like.
What do you think about those claims that like if somebody defects from North Korea, they'll like imprison your entire family?
I don't believe that at all. Like, I think that we should do an episode, or at least have like some more on North Korea, because I don't want to get too into the weeds about North Korea.
If you are North Korean and you would love to, I would love to have you on. That I don't know that much about North Korea besides propaganda.
There's an Instagram account I follow, which I think he's Indonesian, I want to say, or he's Southeast Asian. I don't know exactly what, but he lives in North Korea. He moved to Pyongyang, and he just like posts from his Instagram account of like him on the subway, him at like street vendors or whatever, and it's just like a normal country. And I love his Instagram account. I'll link his Instagram account below.
Dude, let's see if
I'll message him. I don't know what language he speaks. I don't know his deal at all, but I'll message him. But I followed his Instagram account for years, because he's just been living in Pyongyang, or he lived in Pyongyang. I don't know if he still lives there, but he's just like. And it debunked so much for me of like, it's like he's just like, there's just people going to work on the streets. There's like street vendors, and it's just a normal country, and it's just a normal fucking country. And that's like, I hate all this, like, would they have imprisoned their whole family? It's like, probably not, dude, because it's just a big ass country, and they're just dealing with the same bureaucracy, and it's just a normal country. And yeah, it's a pretty like locked down, limited state owned country, but it's still just a normal country with normal people.
See, what Kim Jong-un needs to do is he needs to work on his fucking marketing.
Yeah, he works on his
socialists
image. Yeah.
suck. He needs to hire Trotskyists.
I honestly like that he's just like, no, I'm doing me. Like, we're a Marxist country. We're just living our life.
I just want, it's like, if he wants to win this war in the long run, he needs for people from the outside,
the hearts and minds era.
Inside.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna believe the U.S. and the West.
Yeah.
If they are provided contextual evidence of literal videos and stuff.
And I don't know this Instagram guy. I don't know his like he posts a lot about Palestine now. But yeah, back in the day he like lived in Pyongyang, and I just love that it was like
we should hit him up if he speaks English. We're in good hands. That would be great. Because we could talk about like North Korea. I think that would be a great episode.
I mean, all of his stuff.
Oh my god, I don't know anybody that's had a North Korean, like from a leftist account, that's had a North Korean.
He has a YouTube too, where he just posts like daily life, like vlogs from North Korea, and like his name is Jacka Parker.
Dude, email this guy right now.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. I don't know how many followers he has. Like, I don't know how famous he is.
Yeah, okay. Go on our account and follow him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has 55,000 followers, so it's not crazy. Yeah, I'll follow him.
Even if he had 100 followers, like, I would like to see his perspective.
Yeah.
Because he's living in a country that none of us have had access to or really don't know much about.
Yeah, it would just be interesting to have a conversation with him and be like, what's it actually like? And I think, like, so from what I understand from him, it's like, it's just a normal country with normal people. And, like, I think it's just, like, it's just such shrouded in mystery. And I think that mystery, like, because there's that hole, people want to fill it with boogeyman stories, and it's just like once you strip away
because of that hole, the CIA can fill it.
Yeah, and propaganda can fill in. But I think like I see your point. Like if Kim was just like open the country and be like, no, we're just a normal country. We're just doing our things. We've perfected Marxism.
Documentaries.
Yeah,
just some guy walking around. Oh, you think this is all fake?
Yeah.
Here's a camera for a tourist. Film for
go nuts. And this guy did that, I think, and so that's why I think that's really valuable.
I think they would win in the long run. I think a lot of
like I said, I think there's also
a lot more support.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also I almost respect that he's just like, I don't care what you think about our country. We're like just living our life, and we're just like, our people go to work and they come home, and like we don't need your approval. I don't need Westerners' approval. I'm doing me, and I kind of like, I almost respect that. I don't know. I don't want to get too in the weeds about North Korea.
That's not about the approval of Westerners. It's the it's a criticism that can happen from the American people to the American government.
Yeah.
Right? If they want to make a better deal, an arms deal, a ceasefire, some sort of peace to last in Korea, the only way that's going to happen is from people in the US pushing the American politicians. There's nothing else. Even that doesn't work most times. But if anything does work, it's going to be the people pushing for that, right? Because it's never going to happen otherwise.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that.
Also, I think it'd be great if they would get American kids and students to go to North Korea to learn in universities.
Yeah, this guy lived in North Korea from 2013 to 2018. So he lived in
Wow,
North
for
Korea for
5
5 years. He
years.
lived in Pyongyang, I think, for 5 years.
Should have stayed longer because I don't think COVID hit North Korea like it anywhere.
Yeah,
else.
I would be curious because I think like there's all those reports about China like really like handling COVID. I would be curious to see how it affected North Korea, if at all. Right? I mean, like
yeah,
there's
they
such
probably
little
shut everything
traffic.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they probably were really, really like safe when like
Yeah.
doing trading with China and stuff. Like
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We didn't really talk too much about Parenti, but we're at an hour and a half or something.
Well,
Do
you
wanna,
talked
like-
about his books and the concept in the books. I
Yeah,
think.
I would just say it's definitely worth a read. Parenti may have some questionable opinions on Yugoslavian history and some kind of questionable ties to Yugoslavian people or to Serbian dictators or to Serbian genocidists. But that, ignoring all that, the book I think offers just such a succinct and such a clear definition of both fascism. We didn't even talk about the fascism aspect because the whole book is about like this creeping fascism and how cozy liberals are to fascism and how fascism like really kind of insidiously integrates itself into like the fabric of like democracy and quote unquote like liberal democracy, and how communism is the only real bulwark to that, the only thing that can stop it, and it's fascism's job is primarily kind of rooting out and killing communism, which is its a mortal enemy. That's why like I just think it's really helpful.
The reason why I didn't get too much of that because like I already knew all of that.
Yeah, none of this was a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like I was reading it from the
Yeah.
perspective of like what would somebody who doesn't know a lot about communism, what would they get from this?
And I was reading it from my perspective.
Yeah.
Like I know plenty about communism.
Yeah.
I want to know what
more.
the fuck happened.
If you're like an expert, I don't think this book's for you because I think it offers a very like
you already know what it's saying.
Yeah, if you've read like if you've read Satan Revolution or like any Mao or any Stalin, you don't need this book. I think there's some value in reading it because it just kind of like but it'll only reinforce what you already know. But if you're kind of new to like leftism and stuff, and maybe like reading Marx is a little hard because it's a very
this is a very
it's 200
easy
years
book to
old.
read.
You know, Marx is those are old books. Even Lenin's 100 plus years old now for a lot of those books. This is a very easy read. It's very accessible. It's written in the first person. It's kind of playful at times. It's like, you know, there's some kind of jokes and anecdotes, and I think it is very accessible. And like I said, it is also free on audiobook with a pretty good narrator. One other point I had is that he not only kind of goes after like anti-communist and fascist, but he also kind of squarely debunks the naivete of anarchists, and he talks about like how anarchists and democratic socialists and just like
he includes Chomsky in this.
he includes Chomsky in
Well,
this,
yeah,
and he
fuck
kind of
Chomsky.
he clearly like illustrates like how anarchism would just crumble under a fascist like threat. Like there is no,
because he was talking about like the anarcho-syndicalist.
yeah, he was talking about anarcho-syndicalism, and like there's no state organization to like, you have no military, you have no state response.
Yeah,
for,
they
like,
would just come in and
they would just steamroll you, and that's like and he illustrates that very well of like, he illustrates so well about how anarchism is kind of like a naive ideology, and like it's
no offense to our
anarchist listeners, but like
we respect you for your leftism.
Read some Lenin, I guess, but I don't know. Or read this book, and it'll be very clear. Like in a real world scenario, if you the dream, like you've, what's his name, Kropotkin or whatever, the conquest of bread. Say you've made it, you've enacted your anarcho-syndicalist like utopia.
Well, that's what communism is.
Yeah, I guess technically, but like, what then if you have no central state power? If you have no centralized state, you have no kind of like organization or hierarchical like military. What then if there is a fascist counter-revolutionary element in your ranks? How do you then respond to that? And Parenti's argument is that you couldn't without some kind of centralized response. Or
aliens.
What
if the aliens come?
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but sure, aliens.
What? No, the point is like, if everybody is living in perfect harmony,
sure,
right? Everything is subdued. Fascism is subdued. Everything is perfect. What about aliens? You know, what if they invaded you and have a central force to fight back the aliens?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, what?
Obviously, that's not going to happen.
But it's a good thought experiment. Is like, yeah, you have some kind of counter-revolutionary fascism or aliens or whatever.
Well, if
you
this
have,
is in the distant universe,
the Huns are at your gate. How do you? I think it's like the dishwasher or something. Sorry. If the Huns are at your gate, which may be kind of racist, like Orientalist ideology these days, I'm not actually sure. But if you know the barbarians are at your gates, how do you defend? The hordes are at your gate. How do you defend against that? How do you, as an anarcho-syndicalist, like trade guild, commune society, how would you defend yourself?
Call the next town. Tell them to send their 10 best soldiers.
Yeah, and you can't. And so, Parenti makes that argument of like, you know, just how liberalism and social democracy is like not good enough to stop fascism, so too isn't anarchism or other forms
we
of leftism.
see where your heart is, but
Yeah.
we're speaking in realistic terms from human nature
Yeah.
and a point of structure and organization.
We got to get better at
Yeah.
reviewing books, but we'll work on this because we were
I
the
like
fuck
this.
all over the place. But I was here for it, I guess.
I think I like this way of reviewing
Yeah.
books because we're taking the basic concepts that he
And
has
then
in
just
the book
and then just
and
riffing
just
and
talking
just exploring
about
it.
it,
Yeah.
you know?
So I don't know. I give it a thumbs up. I give it 2 thumbs up. If you're especially, I would say if you're new to communism, this will be incredibly valuable. This will be able to win your arguments at your next Thanksgiving dinner with your right-wing uncle. Like this is 100%. This is all of the arguments and kind of anecdotes and like very, very plainly, very succinctly, very clearly explained ways to like describe, define why communism works, why fascism works, or why fascism is on the rise. It's just, this is the book for you.
And also, if you are lefty friends and you're not a communist and you just want to understand what actual communism
Sure,
is,
yeah. If you're an
this
anarchist,
is a really good read
yeah,
too.
this is a good because
Just-
this is from the
just
perspective
educate
of like a
yourself.
Stalinist or a Tanky. Like Michael Parenti is like kind of an unapologetic Marxist-Leninist, like Soviet supporter, and so, but he's also incredibly smart and like,
and he also
but
criticizes.
but also it is just one man's opinion, and you know he is not infallible. He makes mistakes.
He's not
and,
God.
He's not God, and he can get some stuff wrong, and you got to understand that too. This is just one man's perspective. However,
I really like
however
his
good the
perspective.
I do too.
And then you gotta have like the balance,
Mhm.
and then you learn about his other perspectives on other leaders, and you're like, oh well, god damn it.
I'm glad it's a good addition to the bookshelf. So there you go.
Yeah. Michael Parenti, everybody.
Michael Parenti, everybody. Going on my lefty bookshelf. Just another one to add to the collection. Well, I think that's going to be it for us for episode 45. We appreciate you
it's a
sticking with us. It's a
long
one.
episode.
Yeah, we're at an hour 20.
Especially for the audio, we're at like
Yeah,
1
the
hour and a
audio
half.
is like an hour 40 or an hour 35 or something. But yeah, let's do our outro and get out of here. If you're watching this on YouTube, we really appreciate it. Make sure you're giving us a subscription, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we go when new videos are published. And we publish about 3 to 4 to 5 a week, depending. We publish a full episode, and then we'll take clips from that are like different segments.
If people are still confused about what the hell's going on when you see us on their feed, we have our main episode that we post, and then we'll take clips.
The segmented
sometimes
stories out
2,
of that.
3, sometimes 5, and we'll take those clips and we'll post them individually if you don't want to watch a full episode.
Yeah, you just watch.
Yeah.
And then they're anywhere from
But
5
then you're
to
missing
5,
all the
15
great
minutes.
parts in the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
It's just straight news, right?
Yeah.
But with the actual podcast,
Yeah.
you see us fucking around.
And if you are listening to us on just your audio version on your Apple Podcasts, on your Spotify, there is a YouTube channel. So we appreciate you subscribing on the Apple or on your podcast app of choice. So thanks there. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and a little review there. We appreciate all of the help there. That's what really pushes out. If likes and subscribes on YouTube videos is what pushes it, it's 5-star reviews and ratings on
Just
on
give
the
us
Apple
any review
Podcasts.
that you
Or give
think.
give us whatever you find
Yeah.
fair. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok on at Revolutionary Rhetoric Podcast, Rev Rhetoric Pod, Revolutionary Rhetoric. Just search us, you'll find us. Join our Discord. The link will be in the description below.
It's free now.
It's free. The Discord, just come hang out. We got a few people in there chatting. It's small, but we're working on building it. And last but not least, our Patreon. We do have a Patreon, Revolutionary Rhetoric. All of that money goes back into kind of what you see here, the sets, the lights, cameras, but also half of all of the money we receive, we donate to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. Pastelillion, the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, giving some of those the kids and folks in Gaza and the greater Palestinian area some support, some food, some clothes, the medical supplies they need, and so forth. If you don't want to donate to us, if you don't want to be our patron, you just want to give straight to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, the link to that charity will be in the description as well. Feel free to give straight to them. Don't feel obligated to give to us. If you do want to throw us a buck, we'll take it. But if you want to just give straight to them, please do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I forgot anything.
I have 2 more things. We
has
are
2 more
part of the
things.
Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network.
Yeah.
That'll also be in a link below if you want to check
There's a
them
ton
out.
of great podcasts on that network. It's a ton of other guys. You got different perspectives, some really smart people on their different podcast feeds. Go check out the Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network. It's a great group of voices from the left that are kind of all that you need to hear.
Yeah. And one last thing, if you haven't already, go ahead and I'll probably put his link as well to it. From Left of the Projector, our episode with Evan just came out.
Yeah, we were on Left of the Projector.
It was a fun time.
We were on the one of the most recent episodes of Left of the Projector podcast with Evan. It's a film and television, or mostly film podcast that kind of reviews and takes a look at movies from a leftist perspective, from a Marxist perspective. We were lucky enough to guest on that podcast to discuss my favorite film, True Romance, 1993. Quentin Tarantino wrote. Ridley Scott directed, Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette starred in. True Romance. Go listen to that. We had a really great time talking to Evan, talking about movies and kind of we got to kind of nerd out and just talk about film culture and films. It was really cool.
It was a fun time. It
was really good. We're hoping to be back in October. I think we're going to do a Halloween thing with them. I think so. That's the plan. Yeah.
Scary one.
Spooky.
Marxist perspective on.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm excited for the movie we're watching there.
We're watching. We already found out which one.
Oh, I know what we're watching. Yeah.
Oh,
I think we just established. We'll talk off air, but
okay,
yeah.
Sounds good.
I think I know.
All right, guys. That'll be it from us.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll find something to stream, maybe not. But otherwise, we love you all very much, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
That was a fancy spin move.